Hi everyone, I'm back. I'm Nia. Anyway, it's October 7th. It's Halloween month. Anyway, so I thought I would come up and let you guys know about my top 10 horror films. And since Halloween is my favorite holiday, I will most likely be making other videos to, for Halloween. Maybe I do a kid-friendly one or something. Anyway, as you see, my little signage here. Some horror mylars from my days of working in the movie theater. Here, look. So you can't really read this one, but it's Lord of the Illusions. Anyway, my top 10 horror films. The most recent movie I have on my list is from 2004. And then the oldest movie I have on my list is from 1960. So, can you guess which movies those might be? And you have to forgive me if I yell at my cat, because she's about to climb up the ladder that I'm using. Anyway. No! Get down! Get down! Sorry! Just don't want her to knock off my camera. Anyway. So what I have some props here. I have some books that I was going to show. One book of pictures, and another one is a book that I read, which, I'm not a big reader, but I have read one book, and it's like a textbook for horror film. So if you love horror movies like me, you'll like this book. And if you haven't read it, I have it. Ha! No, anyway, maybe your local library may have it, or Amazon, eBay. Anyway, so some of the information I may be talking about or telling you is from this book. But hey, it's Clive Barker's A to Z of Horror. It's a good book if you haven't read it. Anyway, the end. No, just kidding. The other book is a book I'm going to use to show pictures from. So it's The Look of Horror. Hello. Sorry, a little silly. So the first few movies on my list I really don't have pictures of, but you can just kind of use your imagination if you want, if you have one. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the page I need. So the first movie on my list is actually the newest one, or the most recent movie, and it's from 2004. And it is directed by James Wan, and also is co-written by him, and the star of the movie, of this movie. But also, it's just a clever movie. That's kind of what attracted me to it, and had a twist at the end. Had no idea that, the guy on the floor wasn't really dead. Came out 12 years ago, so if you haven't seen it, hopefully I didn't give anything away. But the movie is Saw. It has Cary Elwes in it and Danny Glover. And the guy that co-wrote it. But James Wan, he's becoming he's becoming a hot director in Hollywood now, I think. With Conjuring and Insidious and some other movies that he's done. So he's the director I'm looking looking closely at lately. Looking forward to his movies that are coming out, because he's just brilliant. That's all I can say. So Saw, I own most of the Saws, not all, but some of the some of the kill scenes or death scenes in the movie, the one that kind of makes me shiver the most is actually from part 2, and it's when Shawnee Smith's character falls in the pit of syringes. and she gets poked all over her arms and everywhere, and it's like, ouch. Ugh. Ugh. But anyway, because I some of those death scenes in those movies, I kind of squirm in my seat, cover my eyes. Anyway, the next one is from 1968. Hey man, if you're gonna make a list of horror films or talk about horror films, you've got to talk about George A. Romero, right? Yes. Night of the Living Dead. It's a classic. I own it. I think I have more than one copy because, I have horror movie collections and sometimes they're just added on there. So, Night of the Living Dead. There's really not too much to say about that one, but it's a classic, and one of my favorite lines is actually from the beginning of the film, by the brother. They're coming to get you, Barbara. And as I hear, I think they're actually making a legit, sequel to Night of the Living Dead. And the woman that played Barbara is actually reprising her role. That's just what I heard. Whether it's true or happened, I don't know. So that's something to look forward to. Number 8 on my list. Let me see, what is number 8 on my list? It's an Oscar winner. The 5 major Oscars that you can win. It won it. So which movie is it? Anyone? Bueller? Oh, right. Wrong genre. Best screenplay. Best director. Best picture. Best actor. Best actress. I don't know who wrote the screenplay, but Thomas Harris wrote the book. Jonathan Demme directed the movie. Won Best Picture. Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor for playing Hannibal Lecter. And if he didn't, I think I would be in prison now because I would have gone off on the Academy. Because he freaked me out in Silence of the Lambs. So, and of course, no one can play Clarice Starling as good as Jodie. Sorry, Julianne Moore, but Jodie's got you on that one. So, Silence of the Lambs. I have a Silence of the Lambs shirt, or a Hannibal Lecter shirt. You know, that Fava Beans line. Yeah, that's the shirt that I have. Yes, I once had a caretaker. Anyway, that's a lot. Some movies are based or inspired by actual events or true stories. Silence of the Lambs, just a little bit of the Ed Gein case. I do some little dancing with my cat. Anyway, sorry. Want to see my cat again? She's hiding in her box. Sorry. So Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. That's just a good movie. It kind of messes with your head, I think. It's not really like a gory one that you go and, not like a slasher film, but it's just a really good horror film. Plain and simple as that. And any stories I have for that? I don't think so. I just know that Jodie try to do a good Southern accent, and then when X-Files came out, back in, 93, I think, Gillian Anderson tried to kind of copy her, but not really, with the accent. So if you kind of see the first season of the X-Files, and you kind of notice maybe Gillian Anderson's, or Scully's, Dana Scully's accent may appear, disappear, whatever. I don't know. They were kind of playing with it. I don't know if she didn't really perfect it, so I don't think she really used it. But anyway, that was 8. Number 7. I actually have a picture of. Number 7 is from 1976, and it's a Richard Donner film. 1976 Richard Donner film. Yeah, make sure I said that right. And it's called The Omen. And the part that really freaks me out of this movie is the boy, Damien. The scene where, you can look this up on YouTube, where they're in the car, they're going to church. Yeah, this kid is not going to go to church. That look he gives, looking at the church, freaks me out. Evil kid. Bad seed. Get rid of him. Kill him. Do something. Just anyway, is... But anyway, that's just, yeah, the guy, the boy, now man, that played Damien in The Omen, he did great. He did really great. At least in that scene, or in all the movies, actually. But anyway, here's a picture. I try not to get the glare, y'all. This is from Omen 2, and here's a picture from The Omen. Got Gregory Peck. Ta-da! And of course, this is what The Omen's about. If you haven't seen it, it's on TV. Go to the library and get it. Yeah, this next one. This next one is from 1975. The year I was born! The best year ever! Okay. That's all I'm going to say on that one. A lot of people are like, yeah, right. So, 2 notes. And that's all it took. 2 musical notes. Which movie is it? Dun-na. Dun-na. Jaws. Yeah, Jaws. By the shark not working most of the film, it actually, to me, benefited the movie. It actually made the movie more suspenseful. Because I think if you saw the shark in the beginning, or more than just, fin, it would have ruined it. So waiting till towards the end of the film, actually seeing the shark, made it better. So I know Bruce, shark's name, the shark, I know it didn't work most of the time, but I think it actually made the movie better. Besides, if you guys are ever wanting to go, fishing for sharks, just make sure you're on a big enough boat, because you don't want to say that line. I think we're going to need a bigger boat. Yeah. That or smaller shark. Anyway, here. Jaws. First kill, beginning of the movie. I don't know what that one is. But I thought I'd just use some props this time. Let me know if you like it or not. One, two, three, four, 5. Got 5 more. This one does have a P-shirt. This one is the only, most of my movies I know, let's see, have sequels, or no, have remakes and sequels, but a lot of them have remakes. Well, this is the only remake that I have on my list. Most of the movies that I am talking about are the originals. So this remake is better than the original, because the original came out like in the 50s, and I kind of like the 82 version better. You'll see why in a moment. But let me see if I can show just one picture. Let me see here. Ready? I could be a little bit better prepared for this, but check this picture out right here. Right here. Oh my God, what is that? It's the Thing! This is from the original Thing in the 50s. It's just a guy kind of dressed up, walking around, killing people. I mean, it's okay film, but I prefer the John Carpenter film. Kurt Russell. There's this part in the movie, as a jump scene, there's also one of my favorite scenes. It's when they're doing the blood test. So, you know, heating up that wire. But then when they get to one, it's like, whoosh! And you're like, ah! It's one of my favorite scenes. And then, of course, I love the ending. What ending? There is no ending. It just kind of quits. It just stops. And to me, I think that works too, as a benefit. Your imagination is very, very powerful. And I think if you come up with your own ending, then it could be, I don't know. I mean, instead of having those two guys just sit there freeze to death, which I think that's what the ending really was, you could come up with your own ending. Let the viewer just kind of use their own imagination and come up with their own ending. You know, Kurt Russell could have killed Keith David, or vice versa, or whatever. I mean, it takes place in Antarctica, but yet filmed in Canada, so obviously, you know, it's cold, so they froze to death. But still, coming up with their own ending, it's almost as good. So The Thing, that was number 5. I have 4 more left, y'all. Let's see here. Number 4. Based on a true story, kind of inspired. They just changed the sex of the possessed from a boy to a girl. Now that everybody knows what that is. So think about this. In the middle of the night, you wake up to go to the bathroom, right? And what if you have this poster? If you saw this in the middle of the night, going to the bathroom or just getting something to drink or whatever, it's dark, and you have this hanging on your wall, wouldn't you kind of scream? It's called The Exorcist. 1973, William Friedkin's The Exorcist. Yeah. I do want to actually read the book of the actual boy that was possessed. I watched the documentary on the boy, and yeah, that was interesting. I think they even made a movie too, but it wasn't as big as The Exorcist was. But in the A to Z of Horror by Clive Barker, B for Beelzebub. S talks about The Exorcist. 1973. Let's see here. The percentage of people going to psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever, phew, it rose after seeing the movie. People got sick while watching the film. People died while watching the movie. People died while making the movie. The movie was cursed all around during the making, and then afterwards, just people went crazy, berserk. I think there was a theater in Boston that you had to be 17 or older to see it. It's just, I wasn't around for that one, but when I read in that book about The Exorcist, about all this stuff that went on while being released, it's kind of crazy. Top 3. 1984. Good year for movies all around, not just horror. That's all I can say. Anyway, let's talk. Oh, my cat. Okay, let's talk Wes Craven, shall we? One movie that he did came out in 1984. Yeah. Can we say thank you, Wes Craven, for writing Nightmare on Elm Street? He came up with Freddy Krueger. Thank you! May he rest in peace. And of course, he did scream. So, this book has 3 pictures. This one right here is from the first movie. And then down here, on this page, this one is from the 3rd. And then the big one is from the 4th one. Hey, Freddy! So here's some pictures from Nightmare on Elm Street. And part 3 and part 4. Yeah. I think the best part of Freddy is his mouth. His mouth, I think, it's just smart, but smarty pants. As I said before, some movies were based or inspired by true stories. Nightmare on Elm Street is no different. Wes Craven, has this was in this story I'm about to tell, which you may know, is said in Clive Barker's A to Z of Horror. Wes Craven read this newspaper article about this boy who he kept having these nightmares, and he was afraid that if he went to sleep one more time, he wouldn't wake up, he would die. So he tried his best to stay awake. You know, he drank coffee, he did everything he could to stay awake, but he fell asleep, and his parents took him to bed. Well, in the middle of the night, it's all nice and quiet, and all of a sudden the parents wake up because they heard a noise coming from the son's room. You know, they run into the room, and he's obviously probably fighting something, fighting something in his dream. You know, jerking up and down, whatever, just in his bed, and then all of a sudden he just fell still. And he was dead. So, Wes Craven got the rights to that story, came up with a movie idea, and voila, rest is history. Freddy Krueger. Watch out. He's in your dreams. Number 2 on my list is the oldest film on my list. It's from 1960. And I do have it. 1960. And it is directed by the master of suspense. See right there. Who is the master of suspense? Alfred Hitchcock, of course. So what movie did he do that came out in 1960? Give you a little hint. There's this famous shower scene you see in movie history, and yeah, Psycho. Oh, here you go. Shower scene. And then after the shower scene. Norman. Anyway. Yeah. Anthony Perkins was so awesome as Norman Bates. I don't think anyone could play Norman as good as him. But there is one guy who kind of gives him a run for his money. And that would be Freddie Highmore, who plays Norman Bates in Bates Motel. Good show. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I think the first few seasons, I think it's been on 3-4 seasons now. It's on Netflix. But anyway, Psycho. Have you watched the movie Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins as Hitchcock? I almost said Anthony Perkins again. Well, anyway, that movie is pretty much about Psycho and how Hitchcock came about of making the movie and stuff, and who, Vera Miles, who played Marion Crane's sister in the movie, she was she was under contract with Alfred Hitchcock. She had to do one more movie of his, and then she would be done with him because she didn't like him. I don't think they got along. So she did Psycho. I don't think it did very I don't think she minded at all to do the sequel to Psycho, like in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, whatever. Because, I mean, the movie was a hit or became a hit, right? I mean, it's a classic. Anyway, you take a main character, Janet Leigh, kill her off in, like, definitely the first half of the film, the first third of the film, which was like, what are you doing? You just don't do that in movies. But okay, he did it. But what Alfred Hitchcock did was, so no one would read the book and know the ending, he bought like all the books at the bookstores of Psycho that he could find. So that way no one could buy the book and read it and know what happens. So, Psycho. Of all of his movies, he knew how the audience was going to react. But not on Psycho. That's what I hear. I think that's on IMDb. But anyway, thought I would share that. But other than that, it's just, I own Psycho. It's one of my favorites. It's, can be a little bit boring in the beginning, but once it gets started, oh yeah. And there's one thing though, okay? Of all the movies that's on my list that actually have remakes, that's the worst one. Psycho should have never been remade. Touch Hitchcock films. The only respectable one that they redid that's actually decent was actually made for TV. Has Daryl Hannah in it, and Christopher Reeve before he died. And that's Rear Window. Other than that, all the other ones that they have redone or are thinking about redoing, just don't touch Hitchcock's films. I think they're redoing The Birds. Well, maybe they can give The Birds an ending, because, The Birds just didn't really have an ending. But other than that, The Birds was good. Don't touch his films. Just leave it alone. Some films should not be remade. And that's another show in its entirety. Remakes. So that was number 2. What can I say what my number 1 would be? Can you guess? Well, it's The Night He Came Home. Michael Myers. Halloween. 1978. Not the Rob Zombie crap. John Carpenter one. With Jamie Lee Curtis. Donald Pleasence. And the guy that played the Shape, or Michael Myers, Nick Castle, which was a friend of John Carpenter. He said, hey, I'm going to hang around the set anyway, so to learn. Once John Carpenter heard that, like, well, I'll just put you to work. Guess what? I'm going to make you Michael Myers. Nick Castle. Yeah, I think he directed The Boy Who Could Fly and The Last Starfighter. And some other ones, but I think those are the 2 main ones that people would know. Anyway, so, Halloween. Halloween 2. And Halloween 3. So, Halloween. Just like Wes Craven, let's thank John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, the late Deborah Hill. Thank you for writing a script to introduce everyone to Michael Myers, the Boogeyman. The Boogeyman's coming. The Boogeyman's coming. Shut up. Anyway. So, Halloween, up until I think the Blair Witch Project, was like the highest grossing or the most successful like independent film. Since they filmed Halloween like in March, I think, and they had to have like fall leaves, all their leaves were kind of like handmade. So after each take, they had to a whole group of people would go and gather the leaves up off the roads and street and everything, grass, sidewalks, wherever, and reuse them, for the next shot. That's how they had to do it in that one. But so all the dialogue in that film, like the men's dialogue was written by John Carpenter, and the female dialogue was written by Deborah Hill. So it is totally Deborah's fault why PJ Soul says totally a million times. Totally. Anyway, to recap, this 30-minute video should have been over 10 minutes ago. We have Saw, we have Nightmare, we have Saw, Night of the Living Dead, Silence of the Lambs, The Omen, Jaws, The Thing, The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, Psycho, and of course Halloween. Halloween, the night he came home. Oh, and really quick, I don't think you can really, on this shirt, on this poster, if you look closely, you can see a face in the palm holding the knife. You may have to look it up online to get a better picture, but there is a face. And I didn't know that until I read it online. So, you may have to really, I don't know if I can actually get, can you see the face? It's like a screaming face. But anyway, I'll be back some other time to for another category. That's my top 10. I have, other horror films that I absolutely love to watch, and I watch year-round, like Return of the Living Dead. That's just kind of like a guilty pleasure movie. For some reason, I just kind of like that one. I watched it a lot. And then, there's the Friday the 13th I watch a lot, and stuff like that, so. And I just watched Cabin Fever yesterday. Not for the first time. I've seen it before. But I'm very pleased with my top 10. Some classics. Like Psycho and Night of the Living Dead. And of course, I didn't include some movies, kind of like the Universal Monsters, because, well, they're in another category in itself. You gotta put Dracula. Frankenstein, and the Wolfman, and the Mummy, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, all in a different category. So that's why I didn't put them in there. But hey, thanks for joining me. Sorry for my kind of not preparedness, but I kind of was. And screaming at my cat, which really wasn't screaming, but still, I didn't want her to knock over my camera, because she would have. Anyway, so, thanks for watching. Leave your comments, likes, dislikes, concerns. Please be nice, don't be too mean on me. And I will definitely talk to you guys probably sooner than you think. Because I will be back doing another special, or another edition of Halloween and other Halloween movies. So, give me some ideas, will ya?